This one I don't know if I'm as prepared for, but been emceeing this event for a lot of years, and Chris Gedney is of all the honorees, and they've all been great, is the one to whom I would have the closest personal connection. And we spent a lot of time together in the booth and on the road for many years with Chris as my broadcast partner and a friend to so many, just seeing the former players back here and how fondly people care for Chris. And it's not just one table, it's several tables of friends and family here for good reason. And they even pre-gamed last night. Some of them had a good time to come out, and I've grown close to a lot of Chris's friends that have become my friends as well over time. And so we've missed him every day since the spring. And one story that I don't think I've told anybody goes back to the end of last football season. And this season's going so well that I think it's flown by. Every season flies by, but it feels like the end of last season was an awfully long time ago in a lot of ways, certainly in a football context. Chris's self-appointed, I might add, job on the broadcast was at halftime to raid the athletic director's booth for snacks. I don't think that comes as a surprise to anybody that knew Chris well. But there's always much better snacks in the AD's booth or the chancellor's box than they feed the media. So invariably, Chris would come back at halftime, home or road, with a stack of cookies or chocolate-covered pretzels or any of those kind of contraptions that are over there. Had a huge smile on his face, and way more than even Chris could eat because he was bringing it to share with all of us. And that's what, in some of the lean years, that's what powered us through the third quarter and the fourth quarter. Some of these games. That was the highlight a couple times. You got those white chocolate covered pretzels at a certain time of year, that's where we went. But the last game of last year was Boston College at home, and comes to the end of the half, and Chris is going on his run, and everybody wants to get a little fresh air and run to the restroom or whatever at halftime. But Chris nods to me and he says, "See that booth over there?" And our booth at home, many of you know, is adjacent to Chancellor Syverud's box, and there's always guests in there, and the Orange Club and people are hosting, and Chris says, "See that guy?" And I'd never seen him before, and I thought I knew a lot of people. He says, "That guy's dying. It's his last game that he's at." And I'm kind of taken aback, first of all, that he made that observation in the first place, but Chris spent the entire halftime with this older, frail gentleman who looked like maybe it was his last game. And I don't know if it was or not, but it turned out to be Chris's last game. And never would have known that at the time. I'm sure Chris didn't know that at the time. But that kind of struck me this week, thinking about Chris and seeing a lot of his people, really thinking about how much fun he would have had with this season. And he'd be going nuts. He'd be banging on the coach's box in some of these stadiums where we go, and it's next door, and all the good, exciting plays and the wins that have happened and the historical milestones that go back 15 and 20 years, and a lot of things that are happening right now. So we miss 84 every day, and hope you'll join me in honoring Chris Gedney as a letter winner of distinction.
Chris Gedney was one of the most successful three-sport athletes to come out of Liverpool High School. Well-known coaches like Notre Dame's Lou Holtz and Penn State's Joe Paterno knocked on Chris's door when he was inspired by the unbeaten 1987 Orangemen like tight end Pat Kelly. The local fans loved Chris, as he was one of our own, because he chose to keep his talents at home. Over 4 years with the Orange, Chris cemented himself in the record books as a dual-threat blocking tight end and prolific receiver. Chris still holds records for receiving yards by a tight end in a season and career. After 4 bowl appearances and consensus All-America honors, Chris was selected by the Bears in the 3rd round of the 1993 NFL Draft. During his 7-year NFL career, which included 4 seasons with the Chicago Bears and 3 with the Arizona Cardinals, Gedney played in 73 games and caught 83 passes for over 900 yards and 8 touchdowns. Gedney battled ulcerative colitis and had a full colectomy. After spending 1 year on the injured reserve list, he came back to the field, becoming the first player to return to a full contact sport after that surgery. In 2000, he was a finalist for the NFL Man of the Year Award, and in 2001, he was honored with the Ed Block and Gene Autry Courage Awards. After retiring from football, Gedney returned to Syracuse to serve as Associate Athletics Director and joined the Orange football radio broadcast team. In May 2011, he was promoted to Senior Associate Athletics Director for Major Gifts. Chris led the Orange Club on many philanthropic initiatives, including significant upgrades and enhancements to facilities and academic centers. In addition to working for SU, Chris was active in the community, serving on the National Down Syndrome Society Board of Directors and the Imagine Syracuse Executive Board of Directors. Chris was also involved with the Special Olympics and the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America. Chris was completely orange. From the group text he would send out early on game days to the excitement over a big play, Chris loved to see his alma mater succeed. 84 left us in the spring. As his memory is fresh in our hearts and close to us all, his legacy here on this campus and in this town is one that will last forever. Chris Gedney, Letterwinner of Distinction.
Accepting on Chris's behalf are his wife, Celia Anderson Gedney, son Chase, and daughter Montana.
I told myself I wasn't going to tear up tonight until I heard Matt Park's story. I couldn't do it anymore. But seriously, thank you. And thank you everybody for everything that you guys have done for me and my family. And just through this all, it's been amazing. And that's the first line. First, I just want to say thank you to everyone that has come out and shown their support. I know the one thing that my dad wouldn't want me to do is just stand up here and talk about him the whole time. Everyone knows how much he doesn't like talking about himself. So I'd really honestly just like to thank Syracuse University for being there for my family and I through the past few months. The endless support and compassion that this university has shown for my family is the reason my father loved going to work every day, each and every day. I go through each day remembering what he told me. The first Syracuse game I was able to come up to was one of the first ones he was on the radio for. And he said, it's all about who you know, but who you know doesn't matter if they don't believe that you truly care about them. Which of course is probably paraphrased, it was a very long time ago, but the message is the same. It just means that networking truly is everything, but it means nothing if you don't truly show interest in that other person's life. And my father was the best at letting people know he cared, and I know for a fact that it wasn't just a face he put on every day. He truly cared, which is why I'm truly honored to be his son and to be a Gedney and part of the Gedney family. And I know, and I hope that I can live to be the man I always knew him to be. Kind, caring, and just overall, more than anything else, genuine. Which is why I know he wouldn't even want to be honored here tonight. He would say that there are more people out there that are far more deserving. But I think we can all agree that Chris Gedney deserved to be honored here tonight for his endless care for others and his lack of excuses whenever he was asked to lend a helping hand. So one more time, just thank you to everyone here tonight and Syracuse University for his endless support of my family. Thank you.
Great job, Chase. Thank you so much for standing up here and helping me accept this award tonight. Wow. So I want to thank all the other letter winners and give them one last round of applause, because as I listen to all their accomplishments, I'm blown away here tonight. And I know that Chris is laughing his ass off right now that I have to get up here and do this. So I know that I wish he was up here standing to accept this award. But we all know, as Chase mentioned, that the only way we can recognize Chris as a letter winner, since he would have insisted that they give the award to someone else, is for us to be up here doing it. He never wanted this type of acknowledgement, but the kids and I all feel he deserves every award out there, so we are happy to accept on his behalf. Thank you to the Varsity Club, to Tom and Donna for creating such a wonderful human being, and to everyone who came out tonight to honor Chris. Your support means so much to our family. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "It's not the length of life, but the depth of life." Chris lived so many lifetimes in his too short 47 years, and tonight I'm not going to talk about the list of his professional accomplishments on or off the field. While that list is long and distinguished, all impressive, all examples of Chris's dedication, strength, compassion, I'm instead going to highlight what Chris would consider the accomplishments that gave his life depth, and I happen to agree with him. The first time I ever laid eyes on Chris Gedney was in a training in California when we were both employees of the same company. I lived on the West Coast and he traveled in from Ohio. There were 30+ employees in our training group that week, but Chris clearly stood out, not just because he towered above the rest of us, but also because of who he was. All of you that know him, you know exactly what I'm talking about. None of us had any idea that he'd been a football player. He never talked about that. But what he did talk about was his family. He'd never stopped talking about his kids. And of course, Eliana, who had recently been born. He was a class act, and the quality of his heart could not be mistaken as one of the best I had ever encountered. I left that weekend thinking, wow, that is one stand-up guy. If I ever get married, I hope he's just like Chris Gedney. Little did I know that a fate would bring us back together years later, with a little help from Facebook and an orange touchdown to put Syracuse in the Texas Bowl. Go Orange. I still thank God that not only would I marry a guy like him, but I would be lucky enough to marry the Chris Gedney. His donors aren't just donors, they're his families and friends, and now my family and friends. This is evidenced by so many who are in attendance here tonight. In fact, I would bet most of you, if not all of you, have heard Chris tell you that he loves you at least once. Whether or not you were comfortable with it, he was going to tell you. Chris lived a life of intention and purpose. He made those intentions clear. From that first meeting where I walked away not knowing that he was a newly retired NFL player, but knowing that he was a family man who had 4 amazing children that he loved dearly. His love for his children was what mattered to him. They were the focus. We all know ages, names, even personality traits. A conversation about Chris was never really about Chris. In fact, I never knew some of his achievements until after I read them in the paper upon his passing. Like the fact that he was nominated for NFL Man of the Year. Why was he not leading with that? Hey girl, did you know I was nominated for Man of the Year? No, I didn't even know anything about that. There are so many ways his legacy will live on, and I'm so thankful for each and every one. But I know the ways in which mean the most to Chris. I'm going to read an excerpt from an email he wrote to Montana a few years ago. It's as good advice for all of us. He wrote, "Remember what I've always told you. Never make yourself feel better by making someone else feel worse. Give more than you take and offer more than you ask." Let's all take a page from the Chris Gedney playbook. When it comes to living your life with intention and purpose and capitalizing upon opportunities to lift someone up like Chris always did, are you running or are you really running? Thank you.
First time we met Celia was at the Texas Bowl, and Chris played in a bowl every year of his time here, and we're going back to a bowl for the first time since the Texas Bowl, so I can't wait to toast him when we get to that, wherever it may be. And if I know Ged's at all, Seeley, his opening line was, have you ever seen Dumb and Dumber? Tommy boy? That's a good start. And that brings our event to a close. I want to thank everybody and all the honorees. Congratulations. Thank you for coming. I know it's sometimes not the easiest to drop everything and to come back to your alma mater, but you heard the call, and we appreciate your being here and all of your contributions and those that you continue to make.